Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with the Critters. I have a couple of special guests here today, and I'm going to give you their contact information throughout the live stream and definitely towards the end. But for those of you that may be new, my name is Laura Joseph, owner of the Animal Behavior Center. We are an international educational center where we teach people across the world about empowering animals and empowering our lives with animals using applied behavior analysis and positive reinforcement. And we do that through our live streaming services. It's a great way to reach people in the convenience of their own home. Good morning, everybody. Hey, so many people on here already. Hi, Carrie, Charlene, Daphne, Cotty. Hey, everybody. Yeah, we do that through our live streaming services, and I want to thank everybody for returning who shows up every Sunday morning. We've got a lot in store for you over the next couple of months. Before I move on, for anybody that wants to contact or follow the work that we do, our website is theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. We have a big presence on Facebook on our right here on our Facebook page. Where we live stream every Sunday morning. And if for anybody that wants to reach me, I answer all of my emails myself. It takes me some time, but I dedicate every morning to it. Laura, Lara, at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. So good morning, everybody. Let's go ahead. Hey, Jennifer, Erin, Diane, Jeannie, Karen. Hey, Valerie. All right. So a couple of weeks ago, I gave a Coffee with the Critters on understanding abnormal repetitive behaviors. Last week, I was in Montreal, and hence my shirt I bought and wore for you guys. I was in Montreal giving a 2-day presentation on understanding abnormal repetitive behaviors with a focus on exotics, but definitely not limited to. Exotics tend to show them more readily or more subtly due to lack of choice, welfare. So it's really important that we can really fine tune our training techniques through training exotics. So there's a couple of photos I wanted to present, or a couple of things that are coming up that I want to, hey, Daphne, hey, Jim, hey, Shelly, I'll see you in a couple weeks. A couple of photos I wanted to go through of some things that are getting ready to happen here. We have a very busy spring. So let's go ahead and get started. Starting with, let's see, how do I get, there we go. One of the next things I have, not the next thing, but coming up here, I believe it's the second weekend in March 9th and 10th, Deb Jones will be here at the Animal Behavior Center again. We'll be live streaming with you on Sunday, March 10th, I believe that is. She's coming to town. We're going to discuss our next upcoming workshop, which is in October of 19. And I'm here to tell you, it's already selling. If you're thinking about coming, you might want to register fairly quickly, because every time I give a Coffee with the Critters and mention that, another couple seats go, and it is very limited seating. So Deb Jones will be joining us that weekend for Coffee with the Critters. Looking forward to it. Is there anything I'm forgetting to say about that? And then here's something coming up right after Deb is here. For the second year, I've been asked to co-lecture with Dr. Jason Crean at St. Xavier University in Chicago in his zoo biology and genetics course that he teaches. I will be giving a 4-hour workshop at St. Xavier University. We are opening that workshop up to the public. So for anybody interested in the Chicagoland area, or maybe not in the Chicagoland area, you can click on the contact link at the end of Jason's graphic here, or feel free to just message me and I'll give you the exact link. Anything else in Chicago that I'm failing to remember? I live streamed with you guys from Chicago in December. I will be heading back to the Field Museum to see the dinosaur exhibit, because as soon as I left, Sue the Brontosaurus came back on exhibit, and that was one of the main reasons I was there. Next, we have so much happening in our live streaming services. Level 1 is for companion parrot, or not companion parrot. Level 1 is for companion animal caretakers. We have a live stream happening tonight on addressing reinforcers for aggression. There's going to be at least 60 people on live all at once, so this will be very interesting. Talk about multitasking. Level 2 is our level 2 membership is geared more towards professional trainers, zookeepers, people, board certified behavior analysts, people who are interested in entering the field or want to know more about working with applied behavior analysis with all species of animals. And then the Parrot Project is just taking off. We just did a live stream. Oh, okay. I'll talk about that in a second. In level 2, we have Lisa Clifton Bumpus coming on with us. She's a professional animal trainer out of California with a history in dog training, but now focusing a lot on the zoos. And we're going to be discussing behavior and training plans. So that was requested, and I bring that to you. And pay attention, because after that, then we're going to have a scientist on talking about the fox breeding in Russia. This past week, we did a live stream with Dr. Todd Driggers. He's a avian board certified veterinarian out of Mesa, Arizona. And we had a fabulous live stream on understanding avian bornavirus. And a lot was tied into that. And it's there for the replay for everybody who didn't get to attend or are looking to join the Parrot Project. Okay, next week I will be in Key West. I'm leaving next Sunday morning. I will be visiting the awesome Nancy Forrester. She has a history in conservation. She is an amazing woman to listen to. Last year, we did Coffee with the Critters with Nancy Forrester from Nancy Forrester's Secret Garden. We had over 394 people on live watching this live stream. So we will be doing Coffee with the Critters with Nancy Forrester next week in Key West. It will not be on Sunday because I will be flying at the time. If I can, I will try to live stream that morning. We're probably going to do Coffee with the Critters maybe on Tuesday. I just have to get down there and figure it out. You will want to pay attention, because I've been asked to go to a different key and giving a tour of something unlike I've ever done before. I will ask them if I can live stream it. I will be working while I'm in Key West, but if I got to work, why not work in Key West? So this photo is this time last year. That is Nancy Forrester's hat that I'm wearing, and I stole it from her and took it with me over the past year to bring awareness to the work that she does. You guys saw me wear that at Best Friends both times when I presented at Best Friends last year. You guys saw me wear that during Rocky's commercial shoot. And what I do with that is, when I see an organization doing outstanding, fabulous work, I steal something from them, and then I take it and present throughout the year wearing whatever that is that I stole to help bring recognition to the fabulous work they were doing. So next week, Nancy, you will get your hat back. So this was Coffee with the Critters last year at Nancy Forrester. Secret Garden, yes. Love Nancy, yes. Stay tuned, because two of the people that I'm heading to Key West with were a powerful team. Anyways, let's move on to Montreal before I'm looking at the guests laughing about this. So when I was picked up at the airport last week in Montreal, Ariel said, "You have to try the poutine while you're here." And I was like, "What is that?" Well, I'm here to tell you, I tried it more than once, this very low-cal diet. So I accidentally put this photo in at the beginning instead of at the end. But the seminar last week that I gave in Montreal was very well received. In the audience was primarily, well, not primarily dog trainers. There were some parrot trainers, which we're going to bring on with us today, both dog and parrot. Zoo trainers. And we'll discuss this, but there was some interesting cases that we discussed. Veterinarians and vet techs. So this is me just showing pictures of some of the people that attended the seminar. And there we go. And here's the group minus a couple at the end. So I'm ready to go ahead and bring in our guests. Let's bring in Eve and Andréanne. Yay, here you are. Good morning, and thanks for joining me with Coffee with the Critters this morning.
Hi. I have my coffee and my critters are the other room, so I'm ready.
And I have, in my critters are wondering why we're having coffee with the critters this morning with none of my critters. That's so we can hear you guys. So I'm going to introduce Andréanne.
Hi, everybody.
Good morning. And
Morning.
Eve, good morning.
Hi.
And both of your English is fabulous. So
Thanks.
I can't imagine how I don't know what it feels like to have to concentrate on speaking a different language during a live stream to an audience that's primarily English.
Stressful a little bit.
Stressful a little bit. So before we move on, just want to say, Daphne says hello. When I was coming to Montreal, she's like, do you need a translator? So before we get started in talking and rehashing a lot of what we discussed last week during the presentation, Andréanne, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, why not? So I'm the owner of Projet Perroquet, which is the resources for people that own parrots here in Quebec. And we're giving mostly videos on how to care for the birds, how to train them, and how to make their life more enjoyable.
Good, good. Thanks. And Eve?
Hi, my name is Eve. I work for Domite who hosted the seminar. I train primarily performance dogs, so it was really interesting to see the workshop. And I also, I also work in behavior. So I have border collies. So I specialize in high energy dog and also resource guarding because I was confronted to that. Well, not that problem, but how to live with the dog that resource guard a lot.
Yeah, and we were talking, I'm sorry, I've been calling you Eve. Is that incorrect? It's Eve?
It's Eve because Eve actually is where in Quebec here, it's a name for a very old man. So in the 60s.
Okay, sorry, I won't call you that again.
No problem, I'm used to it.
So, and speaking of resource guarding, let's touch on that here in a second, because I wanted to ask you guys, now that the seminar was over a week ago to this afternoon, what did you guys find relevant about it? Because a lot of times when I talk to people, no matter what the animal I'm showing, addressing, whatever, I like to say, it's not necessarily about this species of animal. It's about this application works across the board. And we can just fine tune our technique through training a variety of animals. So it's not necessarily about that species, but it can be about that behavior, that situation. And that's where I find training a lot of exotics really helps me fine tune my training skills, my approach, understanding reinforcers, identifying aversives, coming up with an array of behavior modification plans. So do you guys have anything, do you want to say anything about, since it's been a week, do you want to say anything about how you saw how this applies to the work that you do?
Well, do you want to go ahead, Eve, or?
Ev.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Well, I was already convinced that behavior is behavior, whatever species or individual you're training. So yes, there are some different that you need to take into account. But like I said, behavior is behavior, and the rules of conditioning are the same for every breathing living things on this planet, including domestic species, human beings, and exotic. So I thought it was fascinating actually to see you work with exotic animals, because since they are wild or wild-ish and potentially really dangerous, there's a lot of things that dog trainers can get away with that you can't, because you will have a reaction that might be life-threatening. And I especially like to see how you train in a way to eliminate frustration as much as possible, to avoid the animal reacting strongly. So it was something that I really liked. In the performance world, we use frustration a lot. So it is something that is done either to teach a dog that if it doesn't get it, it's not too bad, but also to get a little bit more drive, and it's something that has been discussed, and I like the fact that you try to avoid it as much as possible, because since you work with dangerous species like the alligators or Makaya, for example, their reaction will not be really pretty. So it was something that I really liked, and I think that understanding the consequences of our training, like the potential fallouts, is very important. So thank you for presenting your exotic animals to dog trainers for that.
Thank you. That was a good that was great feedback, and especially since you remembered some of the names of the animals.
I think the alligators were named Priscilla and Elvis, but I'm not sure.
You are correct. Oh yeah. Okay, Adrienne.
And to me, I was always wondering, how can you address all those resource guarding with dangerous animal? And you made it clear that there's so many tools like stationing. And I've been thinking, I think stationing, even for parrot companion, should be something that they learn like right away. So if you open the door and he wants to attack you, or if there's somebody in the room that he wants to, like you talk about hormone, those problems, having a station, having a place where the bird will rely and stay there just for a moment to make sure everybody's secure, it's so much important. And you give so much example, where it's really, really interesting, really.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's like what I was saying is every animal should learn a station, because in order to change an undesired behavior, you need to replace it with another. So that, I mean, if you don't want your animal to do something, request or cue it to do something where it can earn reinforcement. Otherwise, now you're really dealing with frustration if you just keep telling the animal, no.
Yeah.
So yeah, a station is probably one of, well, it's not the first thing, because it, and we were talking about where to begin training, learning, understanding. And a lot of times it's just leave the animal be, because even your approach could be stress. Yeah. And the older that animal is, the longer the history of reinforcement for the undesired behavior. Now you have to counter condition. You don't know, if you don't know this animal's history, you could be putting yourself in a dangerous situation.
Yes.
Yeah. So a lot of times I like to just start by just sitting back and observing, watching what it's going to, what it's moving away from. Shelley, thank you for that comment. And the reason I got started in this was my focus was on abnormal repetitive behaviors. Like I showed in a lot of the video I showed last weekend, I'm sitting there watching these behaviors and I was like, well, that's different. That's interesting. And a lot of people will see those abnormal repetitive behaviors. Do you see them in the field that you work with where people are like, oh, that's cute? And I'm like, that's not cute, that's stress.
Yes. And it's something we see a lot on YouTube video. And sometimes people around me are sharing those videos with me and be like, oh, do you see how cute it is? And I'm like, he is not actually dancing or having fun. He's in distress. So education for people, I think is important with those behavior. They're not used to see it. I'm talking about parrot because I don't know about dog. I don't know if you see it in dog, but I see it often with parrots. What you show us on the video, we see it often as being really cute or really nice, and that's just education.
Yeah. Ev, do you see it with the dogs?
Much less, because I think that dogs have evolved to live in domestic settings, so we can see it, and usually it is pretty easy to identify it. So it is rare that it's mixed up for like cute behavior. I will say that dog people might be a little bit more aware, or maybe they understand that it's not normal more easily because the history of interaction between the two species are much longer than humans and parrots. So I'm not sure. I think it's a mix of both these things. Maybe it's a little bit less common in dogs, even if we still see it, and maybe people understand more easily that it is not normal and something is going on there.
Yeah. So good, great points. That if people even know what they're seeing in the first place. A lot of abnormal repetitive behaviors from the animals that I work with, the exotics, are usually due to, and this is what I'll focus on. It can be due to a couple of things, but a lot of times what I see is due to lack of stimulation, lack of enrichment, fear, the inability to escape fear, frustration from not being able to get to what you want to get to. And usually if I have the, benefit of starting to work with that animal from a young age, where I start is if I'm looking at that animal, I'm like, what is this behavior? I am not sure what this behavior is. If I start to question it, a little red flag starts going up. And because a lot of times they, like I said, develop out of frustration, lack of stimulation. There's a lot of them, like we talked about last week, are cued. There's conditioned reinforcers, conditioned punishers that are paired with, say, me just walking in the room. And just from the animals that I work with, a lot of the animals I work with are in enclosures. They're in enclosures, so they can't move around as much, say, as like maybe a dog. A dog sees a feared object, boom. Well, hopefully, boom, in the other room versus something else. Whereas the exotic animal sees a feared object and they have lack of opportunity to escape. And we talked about last week how a lot of these will develop. It starts as abnormal repetitive behaviors. They start getting strong. A lot of times with birds, they move to the feather destructive behaviors. Exotics, they'll move to self-injurious behaviors such as mutilation, starting over grooming, then sores start appearing. Now you have a medical condition. Not only do you have a well-practiced behavior issue, now you have a medical condition. And if that animal isn't trained to accept restraint, veterinary care, accepting medications, now you're probably going to see more abnormal repetitive behavior start to develop. So some of the things we talked about, I mean, this is very common in the companion parrot community, very common. And a lot of people don't even know what they're looking at.
Yeah.
So we talked last week. Well, before we go into there, because we just did a Coffee with the Critters not too long ago on resource guarding, and Adrienne, Ev, and I were talking about this in the lobby before you joined about resource. Do you want to talk about that, Ev? Because that was, yeah.
It was really interesting. The dog that you saw at the beginning, the gray one, she's 1 year old, and she's a very heavy resource guarder. So she was charging people at 6 weeks old. And I took her knowing fully all of her challenges, and she is just great. She's amazing. And so since she's still very young, we are seeing more and more behaviors, which is coming into her own. Sorry for the long introduction. It's my specialty. So I was gone all of last weekends. They were pet sit by my parents, so no one said, "Oh no, the poor dogs were left alone." And when I came back from the workshop with Lara, Rina started to resource guard me from my other dogs. I have 3, and she has never done that. I have seen little glimpse of it, so I knew that it will be eventually coming, but she really started to resource guard me to the point that if I was in a room and she was in the other room and my eldest border collie will come to me to be pet, she will run in the same room as we were darting to put herself between me and my other dog and giving her warning to back off because I was hers. So she was clearly deprived of my presence for all of weekend, except in the evening. So me being a resource, like a potential reinforcement for her, so being pet and being told how cute and amazing she is, the value just skyrocketed, and she started to resource guard me. So it was really interesting to see. And it's also hard to manage when your dog or your animal, whichever animal it is, resource guard you, because it's hard to manage yourself as a resource. Because, for example, I feed in crates, and all of my house is set so that the dogs understand the rituals around feeding, so there are no scrabbles. But I can't manage myself, like I can't put myself in a little box. So it was really interesting to work with that new issue, deprivation from my presence all of last weekend.
Yeah.
And that's better now.
Okay. Yeah. And I want to ask you what you did to what did you do to change that?
A couple of things. I realized that the resource guarding of me was happening more in confined spaces. So I changed my furnitures in certain rooms so there will be more space, to avoid having little confined place. I've stopped to pet my dogs when I go to the bathroom. So we all do it. We go to the bathroom, we do what we have to do, and we pet our animals because there's nothing else interesting to do. And I stopped to do that. I also realized that she will resource guard me more when she was hungry. So I fed her more, and I was really aware of the resource guarding around feeding time. So I feed them twice a day. And also I worked on, if I pet the other dog, you will get pet too. and little games like that. So it was really interesting. I know it will reappear. Right now it's getting better, so I mostly see it in the evening when she's either tired or hungry.
So,
So Mhm.
you know the antecedents when it's likely to
Yeah,
happen. So once you know the antecedents when it's likely to happen, you
exactly.
can better
Yes,
plan,
yeah,
train, control the behavior.
exactly. And I think that changing where some of the furnitures were to have more open spaces in the house really helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, walking around the center here yesterday, I have numerous different species of animals where behavior, everybody's here primarily because of behavior issues. um, the smaller that space gets, the more potential for behavior issues.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I'll begin working with a large space, and that animal can't always be in that large space, but that's where I start, is where the behavior doesn't happen. I wrote down several things while you were talking, Ev, about different things to address. And Adrienne, feel free to jump in whenever you want if you have.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ev, you were talking about your dog, and when we were talking in the lobby prior to, I was like, there's one of the 4 main factors of reinforcer effectiveness. You were gone all weekend. The longer that animal is deprived of a high valued reinforcer, the higher value it becomes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have an array of different levels of resource guarding here. And we talked about this last weekend.
Yes.
The dog and the pig.
Mm-hmm.
The pig, the vulture, big resource garters, and then we had talked. We were doing this in the membership program about how animals will resource guard areas.
Yes.
That have a history of bringing high valued items.
Well, we talk about stationing and working with dogs that resource guard a lot. It's really interesting to see when they start to resource guard their station. It means that 1, my training is good, but 2, that now I have another issue. So I'm really lucky because my dogs don't resource guard their place from each other. They have a fantastic relationship. But I had a guest over a couple of weeks ago, and my tiny corgi puppy, who has this big crate. Well, it's more like an expand, but it's very big. And my friend has a Beauceron, so our dog is really big. And he tried to get close to my puppy's crate, and he charred the heck out of him. And my friend, she just jumped. She was surprised, and the first thing that she said was, "But he's so tiny," because my Pembroke Welsh Corgi turned into this resource guarding monster, like all teeth out, charging the big black dog. It was hilarious. And it's so important to understand, and I know that I'm preaching to the choir here, that resource guarding is normal. Almost every living, breathing thing on this planet resource guard. It is normal. And dog people don't like resource guarding. They see it as a
behavior that should not exist. This cannot happen in this household.
Yes, and also because they provide everything to the dog, their immediate thought is, I work so hard to give you like a good life. Why are you doing this to me? It is because of me that you're eating. You have those toys, you have those dog bed. Why are you doing that? And they see it as a breach of confidence between them. But it's just a normal behavior. The dog don't know that you have like a 9 to 5 job to buy their beds and toys and food. They don't know that. They just know that they have something precious and they want to guard it because it's precious.
Yeah, and the more, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Adrienne.
No, but
I was gonna
we
say-
see this kind of often with parrots too, and usually those resource guarding leads to bad aggression between birds. So sometimes they have tight space. Usually they have a room where you can fit like 8 to 10 parrots. Then they have like 2 or 3 cords or place that they can hang out, and we saw it really often with people. They say my macaws attack the other macaws like out of nowhere, but what happens sometimes is resource guarding, and it can happen with you too. If you let those hormone kicks in, then the bird's going to try to attack all of the other birds. And I guess it's happened with dog and it's kind of dangerous, but with parrots leads to really bad health issue, because I saw a lot of birds like dying from that. Like some birds sometimes would attack the other and kill it, especially maybe because we have like macaws sometimes with budgie. So of course macaws will kill the budgie if something happened. And yeah, I think it's a big issue too, and people don't understand why the bird is doing that. They're saying like the bird is jealous, so they're trying to punish the bird. Then they're like, oh, he's just jealous, he's gonna go back in his cage. And then you don't really solve any of those problems.
Yeah.
And yeah, Maria said it. She said, like, is it what people call jealousy? Yeah, I think it's what they call jealousy. But no, sometimes maybe it's not all the resource guarding, but some of the time it's about resource guarding. If they don't have enough space, if they have access all of the same time to the same toys and they all like that toys, yes, it can happen to have a problem.
Yes, my mother gave me. Oh, sorry. Do you want to go ahead? My mother yesterday gave me like a little stuffed animal that she bought. Hello, the resource guarding puppy, and the toy in itself wasn't that interesting, but I only had one and I gave it to my dogs knowing that it will be okay, of course. And it was really interesting that seeing them take turns to play with the toy and trying to steal it from each other. You're invasive. Yes, you are. But the toy wasn't that great, but they wanted to have it because the other didn't have it. And when the other dog was playing with it, it was suddenly so interesting. And when they had it, they want to keep it, not because the toy in itself was super fun, but just because the other dog wanted it. So it was pretty funny. And we talk about jealousy, and I wanted to say that one of the first things that I say when I have someone confronted with a resource guarding problem is to change how they view it. So there's a lot of talk in the dog training community around if dogs can get jealous or not. And I always tell people that resource guarding is the way for their dog to tell them that something is wrong and they need their help to feel better. And when you start to see it in that light, you are not confronting your dog with the resource guarding issues. You're helping them to feel better. So it is teamwork together. We will make you feel better around how you feel with those resources. And I think that it's so important to change how people see it.
Yes.
It's not your dog challenging you because they want to keep the resource. If you're not the resource, so that's another rare problem with resource guarding. It's the way that the dog has to tell you that it needs your help to feel better. It is your duty to help that dog. It needs you. And usually people start to feel better about their dog's behavior once they start to see resource guarding in that light.
So much room for education. How do we get this education out there?
By live streaming.
By live streaming. Share this live stream. If you know somebody, I know we're kind of focusing on resource guarding right now, but if you know somebody having behavior issues, especially resource guarding, how do you approach? Share this live stream. Because, and I'm thinking dogs in the house. because I know how I was raised, you know, evolution of education, resource guarding. If you're going to use force or coercion with a resource guarder, I highly suggest you think otherwise, because you're oftentimes going to reinforce the very behavior you trying to change or you don't want to see happen. The last thing I'm going to go up and do, and we showed this last weekend in the presentation with Micaiah, my approach. Micaiah is a resource guarding pigtailed macaque, a primate. The last thing I want to do to help to change behavior is take something of high value away and just say, this is not happening. What's going to happen likely in that situation is the next person that approaches, not everybody gets the opportunity to approach a pigtailed macaque, but they do with the dog. The dad may go up and force and take the high valued treat away, but then the little kid comes walking by and the dog is with something of high value. That is a very scary situation that I don't want to see what happens next. So when we know better, we do better.
Yes, resource guarding is one of the two main reasons for bites.
The other one is what? Fear?
Sorry?
The other one is what? Fear?
Manipulation problems, and the two usually go together. So we see a lot of bites because people touch dogs and the dogs don't want to be touched. So it might be petting, but it can also be some form of restraint, trying to put the harness on or the collar on. So all of those are manipulation problems, right? Bites related to grooming too. So it's another manipulation problems. And I don't know in exotic, but in dogs, you often see manipulation problems and resource guarding going hand in hand together. So not always, but often when a dog resource guard, it will also have manipulation problems.
Yeah, and you can change that with training. The dog or the animal, period, does not understand what you're getting ready to do. Mm-hmm. And you can communicate through training what you're getting ready to do.
So being a vet tech, I think it's really important that people help their dogs being liking to be manipulated. Like, it's really hard as a vet tech to approach a dog, approach it if he doesn't want you to approach. But when they come to the clinic, it happened to me last week. You can see it, but my hand was like that big. It happened to me last week I got bit by a dog. He was really sick, and we had to do something to help him. We had to, save him. But then I was just trying to put the muzzle on, but that dog was scared and never got manipulated. He never got in a car. So then here goes. He was in a car, he was in a clinic, he was in front of people you don't know. It was really, really scary. And then at that point, it was just certain that I got a bit. It was just, mm-hmm. I couldn't tell first, to be honest with you. I was thinking everything's gonna be okay. And finally, no. And I understand that dog. If I was that dog, I would have bit myself too, because he was scared and nobody manipulates him. And then I'm like, hi, little dog, you're scared. You don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm going to put my, my face in front of you. And
yeah, so that is a classic tale of trigger stacking. Everyone is familiar with trigger stacking, I hope. Sorry.
You guys crack me up. Did you need to go check on anybody?
No, I just asked if everyone was familiar with what trigger stacking is, because it's a classic example of an animal being confronted to various stressors that led to a bite. Yeah.
Well, various stressors.
Yeah.
You should explain it to people that are listening. Maybe some of the people here are like, what is that? So it might be interesting to.
Yeah. So we have a dog that has manipulation issues. So so there's one problem there. It doesn't like the car, so there's another problem. And it doesn't like to go to the vet because it's just because it's a strange place. So we have like a third problem, and there's probably like some other little things that happen. So an animal, whichever it is, it can be a human, a parrot, a bird, an exotic, a dog, a cat. It doesn't matter. We can, face some stressful situation, and we won't like it, but we will be okay. But if different stressors happen all at the same time, they won't be, oh, okay, I don't like this, but I'm fine. I don't like this, but I'm fine. They will accumulate each other. So it's trigger stacking, and eventually it will lead to, like someone said, a total overload of stacking stress. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, my English isn't working right now. And it leads to aggressive behavior out of fear because the animal is completely overloaded. It's exactly the same thing when someone, gets home after a stressful day at work. The kid does something really silly, and the parent completely explodes. Maybe not that much. It is trigger stacking, and we see it in many different situations. So when we're confronted to stressful situation, we will stress, and if there's another, we will stress some more and some more, and we will reach our point and just explode in anger or aggression, or we will shut down. But usually with trigger stacking, it's aggressive issues.
Yeah, and I gave the example, and it can be as minor as this, but I gave the example last weekend in the workshop how Friday I was walking around Montreal by myself. This was before the presentation, had nothing to do with the presentation, but there were things that were happening back here at the center. There were things that were carrying over to my trip to Montreal. I was very nervous about leaving the center. I needed to know that my animals were okay. And so I'm walking around Montreal on Friday, and I'm thinking about a lot of these things. And it's just like the stressor on top of stressor on top of stressor. And something very basic came along that should not have required a stressful consequence. And it got it. So I can't remember. And I said it last weekend. Do you remember?
You were walking, and somebody walk in front of you, and you would
yes.
Totally scared, even though
somebody walked in front of me, and I was just like, and that is not something that should have required that response, but I had stress on top of stress on top of stress.
Yeah.
And so I gave this over exaggerated response to a situation that didn't really require that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it did, because you don't know what's going on in my head.
Exactly. And we don't know what's going on in the head of the birds or the dogs. So for that exact dog that bit me, I'm kind of sad, because I'm thinking maybe the owner who was there, he was present, he saw that. He might think my dog is crazy or have something wrong. He might think of euthanasia now, and that's not the dog's fault. To me, it's my entire fault. It's kind of really normal to me to react like that. We're in a really, really stressful situation. Veterinary clinic, it's starting to change. We're starting to do the low stress. We're trying to understand better dog's behavior, cat behavior. How can we do it in a way that the young puppies or the young kitten will love it? And with the birds, we're trying to do it as well, but there's I think there's a little bit more work to do at home. Because dogs go for a walk all the time. So some people will walk to the clinic, but walking with your birds in the clinic is already stressful, taking him out of the cage. So there's work to do, but doing so will help you, will help the birds. I'm thinking about one of my birds that I'm going to go to the vet with it. And I'm stressed because I know that I have a lot of work to do, a lot of medical training before I got there. Because if I go to the vet and just let them handle my bird, do the blood stuff and take x-ray, is going to come back home really stressed, really, really stressed, because it's unusual for him. It's not normal being toweled by people he doesn't understand what's going on. So stressful.
Yeah, my good friend, Dr. Patricia Anderson, she was on here at the beginning of the live stream. I don't know if she still is or not. If you are, Pat, please step up and say hi so I can bring attention to you. But she wrote an article called 5 Minute Trainer, I believe is what it was. And We need to find a way to tell people you're training no matter what, anyways, with each encounter, you're training. It's just, what are you training? There's Pat. Let's get her on here. There's Patricia Anderson. We need a way to tell people this does not have to be hard. This can be very easy. It does not have to be long. We were talking about this last night. I was doing a live stream. Oh, yeah, in Papa Yago House Rescue. We need to find, and this is how I work with a lot of people, because like I said last weekend in the workshop, one thing that kind of makes me twitch is when people say, oh, you have to be so patient to do the work you do. I am not a patient person. So what I try to do, it's just when you see those small, subtle behavior changes, it's that most people overlook. I want bigger behaviors faster. And then it doesn't work, meaning the animal doesn't understand. It's not giving you the behaviors you want. You're probably taking too big of steps. And most people do. But my point was saying we need to find a way to tell the community that this can be fun. And so, I mean, holidays here at my house can be a stressor for me because I've got animals running and flying all over around and 15 family members that I need to keep control of. So one example I gave was pigs are big chargers. They're big chargers. They're big resource guarders, especially in stagnant environments. The importance of keeping your animal used to change. Your pig is in your house, your parrot, your dog, whatever. It's not used to seeing 15 people in the house. Mm-hmm. This animal's not used to change. And then all of a sudden, here's a huge change coming in. So what I did was set my family, myself, and the pig up for success. So the pig already knew a station. It means I want your butt cheeks in that corner. That's what I'm requesting. And it gives space and distance between my family and the pig. And what I did is I set a bowl of Cheerios right up on the bar in the kitchen where I knew everybody was going to accumulate. Now you're invading his space, his territory. But I just said, watch this, ask him to station. And when he stations, when those butt cheeks hit the corner, bridge, toss a Cheerio. Do you know that's what my family did all day? No behavior issues. I made it very easy and very fun for my family. And it was also an eye-opening experience in the opportunity to educate.
Yeah.
I did the same thing with my nephew on my deck. I station trained him and target trained him with Doritos to stay away from the stairs.
Good idea.
Yeah. So one thing, gosh, I have so much down here that we're not even going to get to, but we talked about, and this is just based on what you guys are saying, a lot of it's about finding balance. Start where the animal's comfortable before the behavior issues develops. Start training from there. If you guys had one piece of advice to give and I know I gave you no forewarning that I was going to ask you this, one piece of advice to give to the animal community, what would that be? Mine would be keep your animal used to change.
Mine would be know your animal body language and what does it mean. You have to.
Yeah.
Whatever kind of animal if you don't know their body language, if you don't know what it means, then how can you start doing anything, So that would be my advice.
Yeah, and mine is in the same line. It will be observe, analyze, and adapt.
Observe, analyze, and I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I find the most fascinating is just observing my dog's behavior when they are interacting with each other. It's so interesting, and also training performance dog, because I need to have an immediate response to whatever I'm asking, and I don't want like a slow response. I want them fast and precise. So observing, analyzing, and adapting is key. And I work with very soft dogs. I have one who tends to shut down, and the other to get frantic, like really frantic, and like her brain is just.
Overstimulated.
Yeah, and the most common, training plans for performance dogs are really strict on dogs, and it just doesn't work because they're written for very hard dogs in mind. Sorry for the huge explanation. Like I said, it's my specialty. And I learned so much from just observing, analyzing, and adapting. Whatever animals you have, it can be your nephew, like you said, or, soft border collies that shut down, or parrots, or crocodiles, or alligators. I don't remember what they were.
Alligators.
Yeah. Observe, analyze, and adapt, and you will have results, and you will be a team. And I think that being a team is essential.
Yeah, and that's what you said, Lara, with the seminar. You repeat it constantly. Like, you do a lot of observation, and yes, it's really important. You observe the animal first. You want to identify the reinforcer in the environment, and it's, you say that so often, and then it's in my mind, and I'm like, yes, that's what I'm gonna do. Observe, identify the reinforcer. Sorry for my English now. Identifying the reinforcer. So then, like you say, you put those reinforcer in your pocket, and I found that was a really cute sentence. I was like, oh, that's so cute. You put the reinforcer in your pocket, and then you distribute it. So you have the animal to work. That was really interesting.
Thank you. Give your jobs an animal, or give your animal a job to do.
Yeah.
They'll thank you for it.
Yeah. There's one little thing that I would like to add, because we had like a nice conversation, and I know that you need to conclude, so I'll be very fast, and I apologize, but I think it's so important. We talk about manipulation problems and visit to the vets and training and all of that, and bites. And someone said that when she has a towel, or bird, I almost said her dog, runs away. And you had a video in the workshop, Lara, of you training your bird to go into the little towel, and I thought it was super cute. And you clearly see the parrot, leaning on the towels. It was very cute. And I've trained my dogs to accept the restraint, and I gave them a choice. So I will do the motion of like I will place myself like this, and they will come to be restrained because we play a little restraint game. And I've also done lots of consent tests with them. So I will pet them, and then I will show them my hand, and if they want to be pet, they will tap on my hands. But if they don't, I will respect their choice and stop petting them. I have a very nice video. I can give you the link if you want.
Sure.
Of my puppy doing it, and it's the same thing with your bird with the towel. You show the towel, the bird lean toward it, and then you grab them and you reinforce. I think that giving them choice, whatever the species, is so important. And you talked about that in your workshop, and I could attend a 2-day workshop just around choice in animal training, because I think it is fundamental, but almost like there's only like a few people working with choice, and it's so important to avoid issues. Giving the animal a choice and teaching them ways to communicate with you. I saw on Facebook, like a little funny thing, someone saying, oh, how you feel bad when you realize your dog has trained you to do something. And I was like, no, this is great. No, c'est moi. Sorry, I tapped on my desk, and then the alarm started.
Reinforcer identified.
Yeah. It's so important to give them a voice and choices. Sorry for
It's okay.
Sorry for taking some time. I just thought it was fundamental, and I
Yeah.
will go attend the alarm squad. Sorry.
A couple of things I wanted to talk about is, gosh, I know I told you guys this hour would fly.
Yeah, you were right. I'm like, what? It makes an hour already? Like, I can believe it.
Maybe, I mean, would you guys be willing to come on with me again? Because this was great conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because a couple of things I have written down in my sloppy handwriting from what you guys were talking about that we didn't get to talk about was body language is behavior.
Yeah.
Can you read it? Behavior is contextual. You know, I have something written down. I wanted to go more in depth on frustration. The second day of the seminar, the first day of the seminar was all about abnormal repetitive behaviors and exotics, case studies, some training that I had done to change over the years. The second day was on choice, control, and complexities. The 3 C's that are highly lacking in especially areas of exotic training. You know, highly lacking. Studies show that animals in captive environments are seriously lacking in complexity.
Yeah.
Then that's why I shape complexity. I also have written down here, I wanted to talk more about balance, and I wanted to talk about overbonding, which we didn't get to.
Yes.
Somebody had said something here about their sun conure and overbonding. Extremely common in the companion parrot community.
Yeah.
We
We
need
have to talk more about that. Educate people about that. Really, really important. Overbonding with parrots. Oh my God.
yeah, and separation anxiety.
Yeah.
So if either one of you, because I don't think you can post photos and videos to this live stream, only I can. If you want to, once this live stream is over, send me photos or videos of anything you want to, and I'll post them up, and then you can come in and comment on them. But I want to put you guys, if you want to follow some good trainers, you need to follow Andréanne and Eve. And I'm going to show you how to get their contact information. Let's see. Andréanne, I'll put yours up first, but Eve, I didn't get to grab yours before.
Okay.
How do you want people to contact you?
Oh, just the information that I gave you on Facebook. They can reach me to through Dynamite's email. So it's I don't know how to say it in English, but I wrote it on Facebook. If you can just copy paste it.
Sure. Care if I copy and paste it after the live stream?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. And then Andréanne, do you want to say that?
Oh, there's a little mistake on it, but I'm sorry, we had a problem with it. In French, we say projet perroquet. We translate it in English as parrot project. So it's kind of, it's funny. We talked about it last week. Like, oh my God, we have the same name. So projet perroquet, you can reach us by Facebook. And we have an email address on Facebook too if you want to reach by email. But Messenger is easier, so people can send us picture, video, and stuff like that. I'm not good at writing in English, so sorry for the mistake. You can see it like how I talk. Imagine how I write it. But we can do a Skype. It's way more easier to talk in front of the people. So if you have any question, if you want any video, and right now it's in French, of course, because we're in Quebec. So we're doing French video. People here find this really important to stay in French. But we're planning on doing some in English. So if you have any suggestion, anything you want to see, it will be a pleasure for us to do it. And get ready, because there's going to be my accent on that video.
So with that being said, will you guys say something in French? Because like I said last week, I was like, I just loved sitting and hearing you guys talk. It was just beautiful.
You want to go ahead, Eve?
Oui, je trouve que ton perroquet, il est vraiment mignon. Puis je trouvais ça le fun de le regarder durant la séance, juste se promener. C'était tellement drôle.
Merci. Là, présentement, il est en train de briser un de mes livres très dispendieux. Je l'enlève de là.
Ouais.
This was my face last weekend.
What are they saying?
I was telling her
We've been
that
talking about my parrots, and I'm seeing
Yeah.
that right now he's destroying something really important for me. So I might just grab him and put him back on his place.
Go ahead.
yeah, we talk about trigger stacking. It was so funny because as you were concluding, my two dogs came in and I was petting my puppy, and she resource guarded me from the other dog, and she was fine like before the live stream just because the barking squad happened. So just being aware of those things is really important. Sorry again for hogging all of the attention.
Well, I think this just shows that we need to do another live stream.
Yeah, I think yes. And thanks, Valerie, for your comment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you guys, it's 10:05.
Yeah.
I need to wrap up. If you want to stay with me 1 minute
Yes.
while I
I promise I won't say a word.
You're funny. Okay. So stay tuned for future episodes of Coffee with the Critters. Next week, it will not be on Sunday. I'll try to go live on Sunday, but I'm going to be going from live streaming from Key West. Something that's coming up afterwards, we have Deb Jones, we've got Chicago. The commercial that Rocky is in is going to be aired in mid to end March. So I'm going to try to get the producers and everybody on here for a live stream and talk about that. For those of you that want to follow the work that we do, we send out bi-weekly email newsletters. And if you rate, you can find that link right here on our Facebook page. You can sign up for our email. And with that being said, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. See you guys.
See ya. Thanks.
Thanks for coming on, you guys. It's great seeing you.
Yeah, it was. Bye.
Thanks to you. Bye.
Okay, it's in.